how to sell more clients. In this video and office hours session, I'm going to be teaching you the giving is getting method. I see a lot of founders struggle with selling clients, especially if you're in a service type based business or your service provider, or your company is a B2B, maybe a SaaS, something like that, and you're trying to get the initial users, and it's all hand-to-hand combat, initially manual selling, which is the stuff that does not scale, but gives you a really good example or an idea, data information on how to do your customer discovery and customer validation so you can start working through customer acquisition. What I'm going to show you is that there are two things that you need to think about, which are kind of paradoxical. And let me explain. The paradox is like the yin and yang. It's when you have two ideas that may be completely contradictory, but require each other and they work in harmonious balance. There's this constant paradox in everything. And as an advisor and an organization development consultant, when I'm coaching founders or entrepreneurs, I'm always looking for the paradox. For example, in every organization wants to go to something safe and secure and build a system and get psychological safety and all this stuff. But then there's this tension, there's this paradox that you have to take risks and go out in the wild unknown, face dangers to go out and grow the company and innovate. And so it's this constant tension, this two completely contrarian ideas, but they have to exist together. So the paradox when it comes to selling more clients in this giving is getting model is it's not about you and it's not about the money, but it is all about you and it's all about the money. Okay. Now, when I say money, I'm talking about capital, and I'll break this down for you. But when you're going out and you're selling clients, you're in this tension, this paradox. And this is the model that I use to sell clients and lots of clients. It's not about me. It's not about the money. When I'm selling, I don't make it about me and I don't make it about money. But in reality, it's all about me and how I occur in that sales cycle. And it's all about the money. Specifically, it's about capital. So let me work through this cycle. And this is the model where there are 7 forms of capital that are important. So it's not about financial money, the money at first, but it is all about capital and eventually is all about the money. And I'm going to show you these 7 types of capital in this system that you can begin to work. And you'll find that you're moving along and developing these sources of capital. And these forms of capital have an exponential growth cycle. So first is we're going to start off with something called the use of self, okay, or self as instrument. And this is from behavioral science in the field of organization development. It all starts with you and self as instrument, meaning that you are the most powerful instrument when it comes to selling. Your experience, your knowledge, how you occur, your emotional intelligence, your emotional regulation, your sales techniques, your comedic timing, your wonderful smile, all that stuff, that is the most important factor. Develop yourself as an instrument for these sales. It all starts with you, but it's not about you. If you make it about me, when are you going to buy from me? And how are you going to make me money, me? No one's going to want to do business with you, which is the reason we have to get into the next form of capital. So the first form of capital, work on yourself, work on your skills, work on all those things that are very important to help you use yourself as the #1 instrument when it comes to making the sale. Next is now social capital. This is where you want to serve. And I was having a conversation with one of the most world-renowned consultants, and she was explaining to me that in the beginning, she did a lot of volunteering work, but with boundaries. And this is what I mean. You can get to the point where you're just stuck doing stuff for free all the time. Well, that's where you do have to make it about you and you have to make it about the money. You have to have boundaries. So you want to be building social capital. This means that other people understand your boundaries. So when I go out and I do something where I'm just serving and I'm giving is getting, I am just serving for the purpose of giving. And this is where it's not giving to get, Okay. You don't give to get. You just know giving is getting. I'm going to serve, but people are very clear on my boundaries. I make sure I'm clear on my boundaries that this is the price I normally charge and this is a freebie. I'll say things like, I'm really going out of scope on this and I just want to help you out, or I'm going to volunteer and I'm going to know that there is a limit to me volunteering. And then I'm going to leave and, next time you're going to have to pay, or this is going to have to lead to other forms of capital. So you have to make sure that you're not a doormat and you're just giving away stuff. You have to understand that you've got boundaries and you have to serve in a way that develops social capital. So giving is getting. And the more you serve in the sense of just you're out there and you're giving out free advice is one great way. Instead of doing the work, I'll have a session with someone. I'll say, I'll just walk you through how I would do it. And it's totally on me type thing. This is how you start developing that social capital. And that social capital may not be reciprocated specifically from that person. It may come out, it's the universe has got its way. Call it karma, I don't know, call it whatever that you want, the universal scales, the balance, etc. But it all ends up working out. But I question, there are some consultants that just will poo-poo the idea of helping anybody out unless there's a paycheck involved. And that makes it hard to sell. But remember, have boundaries. Next is the intellectual capital. This is where you're going to learn and you may have to unlearn. And what happens is once I'm serving and I'm learning these things, I'm injecting intellectual capital where I'm serving. So I want to be the smartest person in the room. At the same time, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to surround myself with smarter people. When I walk in, I want people to believe that I have an answer that they have not seen yet, and that I'm going to teach them something. I know something that they don't know. And I'm not going to brag about it. Again, it's not about me, but it's all about me because I have that intellectual capital. So I'm constantly reading, I'm constantly learning, and I'm constantly unlearning stuff that may have me stuck in patterns. So this goes back to you, the self as instrument, and then you use yourself to serve and build up social capital. Then you start to learn, maybe unlearn for intellectual capital. So now we got this flywheel effect going, whatever metaphor that you want to use. We've started the initial investment, we're building up. Now I want to get a network. If I have intellectual capital, so I've worked on myself, I've served, I have social capital with certain networks, and I have intellectual capital, the networks are going to want me in there. I'm going to be able to connect. So now I'm connecting. Now I'm getting into a network that values what I know, who I am, and I'm going to serve, create value. I'm going to inject intellectual capital in a network. I say your network is your net worth. People who are trying to sell and they stay quiet, or all they're doing is they're just trying to sell and they don't participate in connecting into a network and creating value, you are causing yourself a deceleration. You're not using the accelerant that comes from community or connection or networking. Think about it. People tell me all the time, Ed, referrals are my number one form of business. Well, then I ask, what are you doing to get into those networks where people can refer you all over the place? And oh no, I only get referrals from companies that I do business with. That's not the only place that you're going to get referrals. Sure, that's a great source, but how about referrals from people who don't need to do business with you? And you just get network capital going, and you're just connecting with as many people as possible. So you have to find that network. I'm a member of multiple associations, and obviously for those of you know me at startups.com, huge network of over 700 founders, etc. And I'm just constantly injecting my myself, the social capital, intellectual capital in the network. Then that leads to financial capital. Inevitably, someone in the network is going to say, can I hire you? So look at, this is stage 5. There are 4 previous steps before you get to the money. Now, this can happen in an instant. Sometimes it takes me less than 5 minutes to go right up to stage 5 if I've built up enough capital and it's accrued interest and it's giving me interest payments, give me dividends. So it's the financial capital that happens after you get into the network. Someone's going to offer you jobs, opportunities, etc. Now we got things going. Now you got to put in a system. So how do you release your capital, create a system where it's constantly, perpetually going, where it just naturally leads? One of the systems is just letting people, book you, or how to deliver what you do in a systematized way. I call it productization, to multiply yourself. These are the systems that you figure out, because if you're always the one going and having to sell and be the point of contact and everything goes through you, well, that's not going to multiply. That's not going to scale. So you want to be developing systems capital. And that requires taking the financial capital most likely and injecting it into your systems and figuring out how to do automation. That's another great way. How to remove friction between all the different stages of your sales cycle and process. So now you got systems capital going. And then finally, it's cultural capital. This is where all the pieces align. So you, your social capital, intellectual capital, network capital, financial capital, and your system capital, all that aligns to create this culture where everything's just selling for you. People know this is the type of business that you want to do. These are the rates that you charge. We want to be fair. Everybody's doing business with the right values. You're connected with other people who share the same values with you. Most likely people are in a vision together and they're trying to build towards something and have no problems doing business. When I know someone has the same cultural alignment with me, I have no problem spending money with them. More money than I would spend. I'm not looking for a deal because I know the money is going to be used in the right place. And you might be thinking, but Ed, it must be really nice to be able to throw that money around. No, because what happens is that cultural capital goes all the way back, and you can see the dots go all the way back into me, you as an instrument, use of self as instrument. So if I'm in the right culture and everything's aligned, I'm improving. I'm constantly growing. And guess what? I get more opportunities to serve. Then intellectual capital, I'm learning more, etc. You won't believe how many times I volunteered to interview someone or do like a promo piece for them, and they teach me so much. I'm like, I'm going to just help you, but in the conversation, I'm asking questions. I got a really great compliment from a student the other day, and he said, Ed, you asked the best questions. And he said, I really appreciate it. Guess what? I'm not asking the questions for them. I'm asking them for me. I want to develop intellectual capital. But when I do that, that goes in the network. And then people think I'm really smart because I'm asking all these great questions. And Ed's the guy, he's accessible in the network. Let's go hire him. It's amazing how this works. So that's just one example of the way that I use this system to build up all different 7 types of capital so that I'm selling more clients. And the entire value system is built on giving is getting. It's not give to get. I see a lot of that out there. It just doesn't work that way. If I give something to you because I'm expecting to get something from you, we're entering into a social contract that you cannot fulfill. Nobody can ever fulfill. This is part of Asian culture. I remember talking to my wife the other day, and she was telling me about someone who won't go and buy anybody dinner or let them buy dinner because doesn't want to enter into that social contract, because you have to give the same as you're getting. I remember going to Korea and different things. Family members would give me money, and it was literally like a pass-through. So they would give me $100, and then I would just put that, say thank you, and receive it graciously, put it behind my back, and hand it to my wife and say, when you have a chance, give them back this $100, because there's this social contract, especially in where I'm from, Korea, in terms of financial gifts, that you have to give back just as much as you get, and vice versa. So I'm not going to subscribe to that. Giving is getting is very important. So giving is getting, just the privilege and the opportunity and the capacity to give, and anybody can give depending on what level that you are. And you can give something, even if you're just starting off, something you can serve, even if it's just, hey, can I just be an assistant on this job or what have you? And then you'll start to learn, you'll get a network that'll go into more jobs, etc. I'm sure you can imagine all the different possibilities. So this is a way to sell more clients. And I'm going to venture to say, take a little bit of risk here. This is the reason a lot of service providers, entrepreneurs, and founders suck at selling clients. because they're not thinking about all these different forms of capital. Hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video.